quickly, what we ended up doing is trying to address this regulatory issue, predominantly looking at the U.S. As the first application for this, but in the back of our minds, thinking about how this would affect international codes and rules and policy down the road. So I'll just very quickly sort of give you an overview of it. I'm hoping everybody that is in attendance got our email and survey to help participate in this. If you haven't, shoot one of us an email and we will do it. I also just put my contact information in the chat. You can just email me directly and I'll send you that link. Goal number one is to tackle this rules and regulations. So create a national standard on urine reuse so we can then adopt it into local and state building codes. So the way we're going to attempt to do this, and this just came in the last few days with a reach out from the Portable Sanitation Association International. Carlene Koss, who's the director over there, said, hey, we are an Antsy approved developer. And so the idea behind this is going to be to use the Antsy process, which is the American National Standard International process, which can then be adopted into the Uniform Plumbing Code or the International Plumbing Code with great ease. It also helps us to be able to send this over to US EPA or any other jurisdiction because this Antsy process is essentially a sanctified process for consensus and based on science and something that we can control as a group. So we sort of kicked that off with asking everybody to participate. And from there, I'm going to talk a little bit about how we're going to go about doing this. But essentially, we can create one standard and adopt it for sewerage sanitation and non-sewerage sanitation applications. We can branch off from those two big headings and get into finer aspects of rules and regulations. So if it's a non-sewerage sanitation, it could be a manufactured product, it could be a site-built situation, and so on and so forth. We're really going to look at sort of the top level rules and regulations first, and then sort of get into things like site-built, inspections, operation and maintenance, that may be down the road. But really, the first step is to sort of standardize our language and our approach, our codes and policies to get this adopted into codes, and then sort of branch out as best we can to increase the scope. So I'm just going to step through sort of what I see the process is. And so what happens is with this Antsy process is basically we get representatives from all different parties, and that representation is balanced. It also considers responses with that consensus, not only within the group, but then also a whole public-facing side of it. So we accept all sorts of public comments. We review those comments and accept those or reject those, and then we actually state what the majority, what the minority views of those are, and why we accepted or rejected statements. So the whole thing is very transparent. It's very participatory and a very democratic approach to all of this stuff. It's also heavy on a lot of administrative and paperwork, and all of this is being done without any funding. So keep that in mind. Right now, it's all volunteer-based, and if part of this process, if people have a funding mechanism to help us reach this goal, that would be great to help compensate the time that we're going to be spending on this. Just a little bit more of the Antsy process. I really wanted just to get the documentation in here so you guys can take a look at this at a later time. Also questions and comments from the process, you can go back into Antsy and take a look at what this process will take care of. Again, this is sort of the openness and balance of it. In our group, what I plan, sort of the process, what this is going to look like is that we had an open invitation, and that's still going to happen. In 3 weeks, we're going to meet again. We're going to do sort of a kickoff. And this bigger sort of gold ribbon commission that we're forming, we'll start to develop a scope of what we're going to do. So again, going back to that sewered and non-sewered, sort of two branches of urine reuse. We're going to declare what we're doing. We'll give a framework around how we're going to do it. Then we're going to send this off to the Portable Sanitation Association International. They will basically declare this process and this scope to Antsy. Antsy will send that out to its thousands and thousands of members. Those members then can ask to join and participate in our process. So if they've had anything to do with urine, nutrient recovery, sewage, fixtures, all of those people will get notified, and they will be asked to join us. They're not required, but that's part of the process. From that point, we're going to start developing standards. So we'll get an opportunity to define urine. We could use, different language. We can use different processes, but we're really laying the groundwork, the baseline to standardize, language, approach, how you handle it, what sort of fixtures you can use, what sort of materials, and so on and so forth. So it's really at the ground level, and that's really critical to sort of emphasize in this process. From there, what we're going to do is part of that larger commission will create a voting body. We could have everybody vote on it, but it would be a little bit unwieldy. And we're hoping at this point we'd already have consensus. But that voting body would then take it to sort of next steps when we start doing public reviews and comments. So perhaps part of the group that's not voting is sort of our public-facing entity, and our voting body is sort of the consensus or more executive level body. Carlene Koss at Portable Sanitation Association International will be administering this process and managing the paperwork because it goes through their organization in the end. So we will do some revisions of the standards, document major and minority views. We will go through a public comment period where we would accept people's comments on everything from language to approach. I mean, it could be anything that people want to comment on. Then the committee meets again, we ballot, and again, we go through the whole voting mechanism. We do more consensus building as far as incorporating public comments and changes. We vote on that again, we record that. And then finally, this goes actually back out to that Antsy group, the thousands of members. They do deliberation, and then before we get acceptance, there's a whole appeal and audit process that can actually happen if there's problems that either Antsy sees or somebody's public comment they have issue with. They can actually go back and get appeals through the process. So again, it's a very democratic process. It's very open and transparent. And so that's kind of what we see. This process may take 2 to 3 years, perhaps, because we're all working voluntarily. We're not getting paid. We're not setting, sort of part of this is our operations. So I just want to sort of be clear about that, and that we're sort of in it for the long haul, and we're really excited. We have 70 people signed up who have taken the survey that are interested. So I feel like with many hands, the work will get done, and I appreciate the 15 minutes here. to talk about it.